Kumusta? Ngayon ay may bago na naman tayong pag-aaralan at may bago na naman kayong matututunan dito sa Sir D Vlogs and Tutorials. In this video, we are going to talk about the properties of matter. These properties are the physical and chemical properties, the intensive and extensive properties of matter. Let's start with the physical and the chemical properties of matter. All matter has physical and chemical properties. A physical property is a characteristic of a substance that can be observed or measured without changing the identity of the substance. Silver is a shiny metal that conducts electricity very well. It can be molded into thin sheets, a property called malleability. Salt is dull and brittle and conducts electricity when it has been dissolved into water, which is thus quite easy. Physical properties of matter include color, hardness, malleability, solubility, electrical conductivity, density, melting points, and boiling points, as well as the appearance, texture, odor, ductility, thermal conductivity, polarity, temperature, state, taste, size, magnetism, viscosity, luster, and freezing point. Now, these are the different physical properties of matter that we can observe, measure, without changing its composition. Let's have some examples. A banana is yellow. The characteristic or property that describes the banana is yellow, and yellow is a color. Therefore, it is a physical property of matter. And the next is barium melts at 725 degrees Celsius. The property or characteristic that describes the barium in the statement is the word melts, and melts pertains to the melting point, which is a physical property of matter. Diamond is the hardest natural substance, and the property that describes the diamond in the statement is the word hardest. Hardest pertains to hardness, and again, it is a physical property of matter. Aluminum can be rolled or pounded into sheets to make foil. The keyword here is rolled or pounded. That pertains to malleability. That is still a physical property of matter. Plastic foam is a poor conductor, so a hot drink won't burn your hand. The keyword in the statement is poor conductor. That pertains to the thermal conductivity, and it is again a physical property of matter. Now let's go to the chemical properties of matter. Chemical properties of matter describe its potential to undergo some chemical change or reaction by virtue of its composition. What elements, electrons, and bonding are present to give the potential for chemical change. it is quite difficult to define a chemical property without using the word change. Eventually, you should be able to look at the formula of a compound and state some chemical property. For example, hydrogen has the potential to ignite and explode given the right conditions. This is a chemical property. Metals, in general, have chemical property of reacting with an acid. Zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid to produce hydrogen gas. This is a chemical property. A chemical property of iron is that it is capable of combining with oxygen to form an iron oxide. The chemical name is rust. The more general term for rusting and other similar process is corrosion. Other terms that are commonly used in descriptions of chemical changes are burn, rot, explode, decompose, and ferment. Chemical properties are very useful in identifying substances. However, unlike physical properties, chemical properties can only be observed as the substance is in the process of being changed into a different substance. Other chemical properties are flammability, that's the ability to produce fire or flame. Next is reactivity, that's the ability to react with acids. Toxicity, that pertains to the toxic chemicals. And radioactivity. Let's have some examples. Metals corrode due to acid rain. The keyword here that describes the metal is corrode. It's the property that pertains to reactivity, and that is a chemical property of matter. Silver tarnishes when it comes in contact with hydrogen sulfide in the air, and the keyword here is tarnishes that pertains to toxicity. And toxicity is a chemical property of matter. Gasoline is flammable, and of course the keyword here is flammable that pertains to flammability and a chemical property of matter. Now let's have the extrinsic or extensive properties of matter. There are properties such as length, mass, volume, weight, and etc. that depend on the quantity or size of the matter. These properties are called the extensive property of matter, and their value changes if the size or quantity of the matter changes. Extensive properties includes the volume, the mass and the weight, size, length, and energy. Intensive properties of matter, in contrast, it do not depend on the amount of the substance. These include luster or being shiny. Just like diamond, small or big diamond, they both shine. Boiling point. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius regardless if it is 100 ml or 1 liter, because Boiling point does not depend on the amount of matter. Once water reaches 100 degrees Celsius, it will boil. Also, density, color, melting point, odor, temperature, hardness, ductility, and malleability. Again, these are the intensive properties of matter. Again, that's luster, boiling point, density, color, melting point, odor, temperature, hardness, ductility, and malleability. Your turn. Classify each of the following properties listed below as physical or chemical property and intrinsic or extrinsic property. Color. Is it extensive, intensive property? It is intensive property. Physical or chemical property? It is physical property. Next, we have combustibility. Is it extensive or intensive? That's intensive. Physical or chemical? That is chemical. Next, we have hardness. Is it extensive or intensive property? That is intensive. Physical or chemical? That is physical. And the last we have mass. Is it intensive or extensive property? That's extensive. Physical or chemical property? That's physical. Very good. Now, try to answer the other properties.